Alright, video number 5. It's crazy to think that I've made 5 videos. That's 5 hours of me talking. So, yeah, it's exciting. I had a good trip going to Kamakura. But even before I get to that, the last video left off that I was gonna get some yakitori. And yeah, as I finished that video, I was going to Ichinomiya, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to go get some yakitori at that place. And I had already said it in the video, but as time went on, I felt like I didn't really want to go. And so I was like, I'm not hungry, and I just wasn't really in the mood to like socialize at that time. But to be honest, since I had already said it in the video, I'm trying to change my ways. I'm trying to follow through with doing the things that I said that I'm going to do. And it actually turned out really great. Been practicing recently to just put myself out there and to continue, like I said, just pushing myself to go to places where I wouldn't typically just go to a restaurant by myself, especially in like an izakaya, like a little bar like that. In the past, it would just be awkward. Like, oh, I'm just going to go to this place that I've never really been to before by myself. And I don't know, it's just like awkward to think about. Whereas now, I'm just trying to put myself in awkward situations. What I would consider to be awkward in the past, probably just normal for a lot of other people. And it's actually really enjoyable. They had really good food. It was really cheap. And when I when I entered into the restaurant, I was just kind of standing by the door because do I wait for somebody to seat me, or can I just sit wherever I want? And there's a guy at the end of the bar. He's a guy who's just eating there, and he just says, kind of in like broken English, he's like, "Oh yeah, you can just have a seat." I'm like, "All right, cool." This is kind of random. I didn't know this guy, but he's just like speaking to me. So yeah, no, it was good. It was enjoyable. And then, I don't know, to be honest, like me going there when I didn't really want to because I changed my mind, like that was a win for me. So I gave myself a high five then. I'll do it again. Good job doing that. But as I was there, I was like, man, it's a little bit awkward. There's people sitting on either side of me. I should try to strike up a conversation with somebody, but I just didn't. Just kind of wasn't in the mood, to be honest. But yeah, that like I said, that's just one of the things that I'm trying to change, though. I'm trying to make that just become like a normal thing that I do every day. And the more I watch videos on YouTube, the more I see other people do it. It's kind of like when I was a teenager, I was really into skateboarding. And me and my friends would watch skate videos before we actually go skateboarding. Kind of get hyped up, and it helps, at that point, like watching somebody else do something that you really want to do, like that looks awesome, I want to go try that. And so like that's kind of like what, I don't know, social skills videos and stuff, or like people like approaching strangers and videos and stuff like that, just striking up conversations. That's kind of like how I treat it nowadays, is like I did those old skate videos when I was a teenager. And so it just looks like fun. And to be honest, I've been doing it a lot more since my last video. And it just becomes easier. And it becomes something that I just do on a regular basis now. Not even really being intentional. Sometimes I have to be intentional just because I just get tired. I'm just not in the mood, whatever. But I want to do it despite not being in the mood. I want it to just be kind of like second nature, where you can just try to strike up a conversation with somebody and just get to know them a little bit. If you're waiting for the bus or waiting for the train, somebody's standing there. And I know Japan culture is a little bit different than in the States, but even here I find that some people, and it's usually been with like older people, like kind of maybe retirement age, that enjoy speaking more, and mostly because they're surprised that I know Japanese a little bit, and start talking about whatever. Where was I? So yeah, I went to Kamakura. It was Golden Week. This past weekend we had 4 days off. Was it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? The first day or two of that break, I was just exhausted. I just wanted to take a day for myself. So I was just relaxing, doing nothing, watching. I actually watched a couple movies that I hadn't done in a while. It's crazy. I used to love watching movies, but since I've been back in Japan, it's kind of weird. Since I've been back in Japan, I'm kind of living my dream, and so I don't really watch movies anymore. Which, for me, I guess, like, watching movies, and I didn't notice at the time, but I guess watching movies was kind of an escape from reality. And maybe, I don't know. But I was in the States. When I was in the States, I would watch movies quite a bit, sometimes 2 movies a night. I really just love movies. I love cinematography. I love soundtracks, if it's a good movie. So yeah, this weekend I got to watch a few movies. And I ended up going to Kamakura. What day was that? Cinco de Mayo. That was Monday. I know, because I wanted to meet up with my friend to get tacos. But he was actually leaving to go to the Philippines the next day, so he decided against it. Oh well, I had a great day in Kamakura. And I wrote some notes wrote a journal entry about my experience. This is a really great trip. I've been there before, and when I say Kamakura, I mean like the Daibutsu. It's usually what everybody talks about, the great Buddha statue. But this time, I went to a few different places. Being a really, fan of Japanese cinema, classic Japanese cinema. I was reading an article, somebody said, like, oh, if you're a cinephile, you have to go to these places. I'm like, I don't know if I consider myself a cinephile, but I guess I am, because I love these old movies, and I go to the places where they were filmed, and I go to all these, to pay homage or respects or whatever. Anyways, I went to Kita Kamakura Station, and close to there is a really big temple. It's called, what is it called? Engakuji. Beautiful place. If you ever in Kamakura area, definitely go there. It's beautiful. It's right off the station. Kita Kamakura Station is a beautiful station. Classic Japanese countryside. 2 tracks. Nothing fancy. It's a nice break to get out of the city, out of Tokyo, out of the hustle and bustle. But, with this being Golden Week, you might as well have been in Tokyo because there's so many people. But beautiful station in the countryside, greenery everywhere. It's kind of late spring, early summer. I guess it's just considered spring. But yeah, beautiful flowers. The smell is awesome. So yeah, I'm walking around there. And the reason I decided to go here is because a very famous Japanese director is buried there. And I didn't realize that until I came across an article online. A fellow cinephile was writing about this. And he said that, if you're going to Kamakura, go to this place and visit this guy's gravesite. And the guy's name is Yasujiro Ozu. And he's famous for the director of the movie Tokyo Story, among many other films. I don't remember how many films he's made. Quite a bit. Probably around 30 films. And they all are kind of commentaries on like post-war Japan. Kind of like in a family setting, family relationships. And it usually revolves around one particular character who's a young female. And the whole family's like, we got to get her married. She's 27, 28 years old. She's way too old. She's got to get married. And me watching this movie as a 38-year-old person, and I'm just like, man, 27, 28. That's, in my opinion, that's actually very young. I can't imagine being married at 27. I was not in a position to be married. But it's just interesting how things were much different. This is probably, what, the early 50s when this was filmed? Just that time period. And yeah, so that's Tokyo Story, amongst many other films that I had watched of his. And it's great to watch these classic Japanese films, and I'm a huge fan. But to actually go to these places in person, it's just on a different level. It just makes the film come alive even more. Like, there's one of his films, it's called Late Spring. And there's a scene where the actress, her name is Setsuko Hara, or Hara Setsuko, depending on... In Japan, they say the last name first, you know. So yeah, Setsuko Hara. I actually don't know what her first name is. I think it's Setsuko. Anyways, like her and like another character sitting like at the foot of the giant Buddha statue, you know, having a conversation. I think it's her uncle. And he's just talking to her about, you know, why aren't you married yet and all this other stuff. You know, you're 28. You're way too old to be a woman and not be married. It's so funny. As I'm watching this scene, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I've been there, you know, and it's a place that I was going to go to again. So it's great, classic Japanese film. And I'm able to, like, go to the place where it was filmed in person, which I was really excited about. And I'm really great that I got to go. To be honest, like, I like Ozu films, but I'm actually really, really into Akira Kurosawa films. Kurosawa is probably my favorite. This is kind of hard. I don't know if he's my all-time favorite, but he's very much up there. I think my all-time favorite director might be, it's hard to say, might be Martin Scorsese. But Martin Scorsese was very much influenced by Kurosawa. And they actually did a film together. Kurosawa directed a film called Dreams. And I think it was the late 80s, like 88. In which Martin Scorsese played Vincent van Gogh, who's a character in the movie. So it's pretty great how all these things that I love kind of like come together in one film. And another example of that too is I'm a really big Dostoevsky fan, like a Russian author, you know, Fyodor Dostoevsky. And his books, The Brothers Karamazov, The Idiot, Crime and Punishment. So Kurosawa, I have to say something else. I love Dostoevsky, I love Kurosawa, and the other actress that I mentioned earlier, Hara Setsuko. She's a great actress and just like, I don't know, just like a classic, elegant woman from that time period of movies. And so those three things, Dostoevsky, Kurosawa, Hara Setsuko. And there's a film that Kurosawa did, and it's one of his lesser known films, and it's called The Idiot, which is also a book by Dostoevsky. It's one of my favorite books. And it's just another one of those things where it's like these things coming together. I'm like, I love all of these things, and I'm so glad that I get to enjoy all of these things that I love, and they're all coming together in this one work of art, you know. Anyways, back to my story, going back to, you know, visiting Ozu's gravesite at Engakuji near Kita Kamakura Station. As I'm walking around, you know, it's a giant temple, there's all these other places that you can go. There's a giant bell at the top of the hill. It's a bell with like the giant, it's almost like, you know, they just cut down a tree and put it to the side and attach some rope to it, and you swing it and you hit this giant bell. That's at the top of this hill. So I'm walking around there and I'm like, where's like the gravesite? I'm seeing all these really cool things, but I'm like, where's the gravesite? Where's Ozu's gravesite? And I finally approached this area, and there's a sign, and it says, no entry allowed. It says in Japanese and in English, so I can't, you know, like go in there and be like, oh, I didn't know it said that, you know, which you can do sometimes. You shouldn't, but you can get away with it sometimes. But it was printed in Japanese and in English. And so I was like, well, this sucks, because there was a little map of all the graves and like the names of the graves, like who's there. It's like a little map. And so I saw it and I was like, oh, that's definitely Ozu's grave. Like I recognized, it's all written in kanji, but I had to look that up online. Like, how do you write his name in kanji? So I find it on this map. I know exactly where it is. I'm like, it's right up this hill, and you just go to the right, and then up another little set of stairs, and it'll be right there on the left. And I was like, but I hear these trucks, you know, because these temples, they drive these little mini trucks. You know, you've seen these Japanese mini trucks. They have these all over the temples because it's like the groundskeepers, making sure everything looks nice and pristine. As I'm approaching this, where it says no entry, I hear these trucks in the background. I hear these men talking. I'm like, they're like right there. I can't walk in here. Because it's kind of, once you walk beyond this point, you can see quite a ways. So if I'm walking beyond that point, there's not like a corner that I can turn around. So I'll definitely be spotted. So like, all right, this sucks. Like, I'm just going to walk the other way for a little bit. Turns out there's another entryway a little bit further down the path that I was on, but there wasn't a sign that said no entry. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I want to try to go up in here and see if it connects. And now if they stop me, I'll just be like, oh, well, there wasn't a sign over there, but whatever. So I go up in there. I'm actually just kind of walking around because it's just very peaceful and peaceful. Now that I say that, it's a graveyard, essentially. Not essentially. It most definitely is a graveyard. But it's just different. Different graveyards than what I'm used to in the States. More, I don't want to say elegant. It's just different. It is more elegant. More marble. There's like little places where you can burn incense. People are leaving, you know, giant bottles of sake or little gifts and stuff like that at people's grave sites. So it is kind of nice. Anyways, so I'm walking around and I get to a point and I'm like, I can still hear those trucks. Like, I don't want to walk out into the open because it's kind of an open space. So I chicken out. I go back the way I came. I was like, I'm just going to go sit down somewhere and whatever, think about what I'm going to do next. You know, so I walk around, I go sit down. I'm sitting down like, man, like, I came a long way. And this is like one of the main things that I wanted to do. Like, I came a long way. Am I going to let a little sign hold me back? You know? Like, you know what? And I was also kind of nervous. I was like, I don't want to go back. And then, you know, in my head, I'm like, what if somebody was watching me and they're going to be like, this guy chickened out and he's going back? Obviously, they would never know that. But that's just my inner voice talking to me. And so, sitting down for a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm going to go back, give it another shot. You know, third time's a charm. So I go back. I'm walking by. I recognize some people that I walked by earlier. And I was like, oh, come on. My mind's playing tricks on me. I just need to get over it and just keep going. I go back up the stairs. I go through the little graveyard, the little walkway. And I get back to that point where I heard the truck earlier. And as I'm approaching, it's kind of like a T. It comes to a T. And I was going to turn right and go up the hill. As I'm approaching, I see like 3 other men. And they're Japanese and they have like bottles of sake or something. They have something with them. And I was like, oh, they must be visiting a grave. Like, I'm just going to kind of walk closely behind them. You know, power in numbers. I mean, let's see what happens. If I get kicked out, we must all get kicked out. You know. Anyways, I follow behind them. We're taking off up the hill. It comes to another T. They go to the left. I know that I need to go to the right because that's where Ozu's grave is. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm in the clear. Because once I'm at the top of the hill and I turn right, now it's like out of sight, you know. So the truck from earlier, I know they wouldn't be able to see me. And I can't hear them anymore. I can't see them. So we're good. We're good. So I get up there, and then I see it. I'm like, oh, like, here it is. That's awesome. And The grave site is made out of almost like a black marble. Not black, but kind of like a gunmetal almost, like a dark gray. And it just has one kanji character carved into it. And it's a meaning, it's pronounced mu, which means like nothingness or emptiness. Like, oh, that's really interesting. That's pretty cool, just like have one. So yeah, I got there, I was taking some photos, paid my respects, and like I hear some sounds behind me. I'm like, oh crap, like I got caught. Somebody's here to kick me out. I turn around and it's like one guy and like his girlfriend or his partner or whatever. And like they're there to pay their respects to, and he has like a little bottle of sake. Tells his partner, he's like, oh, it's because he really liked sake, so he leaves it on the grave. And yeah, so I take a photo and like, oh, I need to get out of this guy's way. But at the same time, like I had with me in my backpack a copy of Tokyo Story on Blu-ray, and I wanted to get a picture of that with Ozu's grave, just, you know, pay my respects, be like, this is a very impactful movie, and just like, you know, have that memory. And so like that guy's there, he's taking photos, he, you know, gives that gift. He's like up in there, you know, putting it on his grave. So I'm like, I'm not gonna take a photo of this guy, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna hang back, wait till he leaves, and then, you know, I'll get a photo. And a minute or so after that, I hear another sound behind me. I'm like, what's going on now? And it's those three guys from earlier. Like, oh man, those guys are trying to find it too, and they made a wrong turn. And so I'm like, all right, let me get out of their way too. Like, I'll be respectful. I already got a photo, so I'm good to go. If I leave or whatever, I'm good. I got that photo. But I really wanted the one with the Blu-ray in it. So these guys, they get some photos, whatever. The other guy and his woman friend leave, and so it's just me and these three other older gentlemen. One of them's wearing a suit, the other two are kind of, you know, whatever, casual dress. They kind of look like they just got off of work or something. At least two of them did. And for whatever reason, I was just kind of like, oh, like I really like Ozu movies. I'm saying this in Japanese, and I'm always a little bit shy because my Japanese, you know, my Japanese level isn't so high. So I'm always a little bit apprehensive, but I'm starting to change my mindset of that and realizing my Japanese is actually better than I think it is. So I just say to them in broken Japanese, like, oh, I really like Ozu movies, and I actually, you know, have a copy of Tokyo Story. And so they're like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you've heard of Ozu? I'm like, yeah. I start talking about his different movies, start talking about Kurosawa, start talking about other movies and directors that kind of took place in Japan or with Japanese actors and stuff like that too. So I mentioned, you know, I really liked the movie Lost in Translation by Sofia Coppola. I really liked the movie Mystery Chain by Jim Jarmusch. Had a couple of Japanese actors in there. And they knew who Jim Jarmusch was too. He's actually well known in Japan. So they were talking about that, and they asked me if I've heard of certain other Japanese movies. They mentioned, I can't remember the names of them now. They asked me if I knew a certain director. I want to say his name is Keisuke Kinoshita. I was like, no, who's Keisuke Kinoshita? And they're like, oh, he did, what's the title? I don't want to butcher it. It's like 25 Eyes or 29 Eyes, something like that. A certain number of eyes. And I was like, no, I've never heard of that actually. And so I took a note, I wrote it down. Check it out later. And they're like, oh yeah, well he's buried right there. He turned around and like there's his gravestone right there. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize this was a place for, you know, famous Japanese film directors to be buried. And one of the men mentions to me like, oh, Akira Kurosawa is buried close to Kamakura station, which is just one station away. I was like, yeah, I knew that. That's where I was planning on going next. And he's like, well, if you go there, just be careful, because the last time we went there, we got kicked out by like the temple guard or like the temple priest or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'll be sure to keep my eye out. I'll be like a ninja. So he kind of cracked up. So it's good. I was talking to those guys. One of them was actually from Chiba. I'm living in Chiba right now. He's like, oh, I'm from Makuhari. I was like, oh, I'm from like Chiba City, like in Chiba City. He's like, oh, very cool. And he was telling me like how he had made 3 films back in the day. I'm assuming it would be like the early 90s. And he was describing how he still is really into film, but at that time he was wanting to make films and had made 3 of them, but ended up in a different line of work. I asked him if he was still working in the film industry, you know, as a director, writer, or whatever. He's like, no, actually not. But it's still cool to just have a conversation with people that, like I said earlier, I normally wouldn't open up to people like that, or like strike up a conversation with people like that. And life is a lot more enjoyable if you do. and you meet some really interesting people, and you meet some people that are into the same things that you're into. And that's just part 1 of 3 of my Kamakura story. And so the thing is, we part ways. They're going to visit somebody else's grave, the director, the movie Harakiri. And they asked me if I knew that movie. I was like, yep, I know that movie. In Japanese, it's called seppuku. And I was like, oh, in English, it's called harakiri, but it's the same exact meaning. So we say goodbye, they go their separate ways, and I'm heading back to the station, and I go to Kamakura Station next, which is just 1 station away. And Kamakura Station, it's a really cool station. I like it. And it's also a famous station. Like, it's been in quite a few movies by Ozu. I forget the movie titles, but you'll see Kamakura Station if you watch his movies. So I go there, and there's a giant torii gate, which is like a red gate. If you've seen any traditional gates in Japan, and it's red, that's what it is. But it's over the street. And the name of the street is Komachi Dori. Komachi Dori. It's very famous for a bunch of shops, cafes, where you can buy gifts or whatever. It's really cool. Lots of people though. It's very crowded. Very crowded. Seriously, as far as like getting out of Tokyo, you're like, oh, I'll go to Kamakura. Kamakura this weekend, because it was Golden Week, is just as busy as Tokyo. Like, probably even more crowded than Tokyo. If I knew it was going to be this crowded, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I'm glad that I did, because it's just a better story. Anyways, I'm in Kamakura, Komachi Dori, walking down the street. I'm headed to the Kamakura, what's it called? The film museum. It's something different in Japanese, but I can't remember specifically what the name is. And so I'm walking down the street. My phone is almost dead at this point, though, because I'm looking at the map. I'm like, where do I need to go? This really sucks. My phone is losing charge so quickly. I've only checked the map a handful of times. I haven't even checked it that much. And my phone had been on airplane mode all day. And it's only about 12, maybe 1 o'clock. I'm like, all right, like, I'm at like 30%. I need to take it easy. And I thought I was taking it easy. Like, why is my phone dying so quickly? So I'm trying to find it on the map, and I can't find it. But I remember it being off that main road, off of Komachi Dori. I mean, you know what? I'm just going to keep walking. I'm just going to, whatever. I'll look for signs. Worst comes to worst, I'll just ask somebody. So I keep walking. Eventually I see a sign, like, awesome. Like, it's right here. Turn to the left. And it's down kind of a quiet little road. Off the main, Komachi Dori is very busy, tons of people. At one point, you had to, like, wait until other people pass so you can go. I'm like, all right, this really sucks. So when I turn left to go off to this film museum. There's like nobody on this street. I'm like, all right, the sign said it was down here. I really hope it's down here. And sure enough, it was like 2-minute walk. It's like right there on the right hand side. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. They have it almost, I don't know. It looked like it was a house, which I found out later that it used to be a house, but then they converted it into a small museum. And I'm approaching the door. It's like 300 yen to get in, which is less than $3, nothing. And I'm looking at like the ticket prices, and it says, you know, like entrance fee is 300, and to see a movie, I think it was like 500 or 1,000. I was like, wait, like I didn't know this was a movie theater. I would have planned it a little bit differently, but I found out at that point that it was also a movie theater. I was like, this would be the coolest place to see a movie. So they had a list of like the movies that they had screening, I think for that month or something like that. I have the paper at home. I'm like, this is so cool. And they have like a little, what do you call that? Exhibit, something like that. Anyways, they have the things like set up, and it's just set up around these classic Japanese entertainment magazine. It was called, I want to say it was called Screen. It was written in katakana. And I'm walking through, and there's all these famous Hollywood stars, people that I grew up just I love movies, so it's very like, it was very emotional for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. This person's been to Japan. This person's been to Japan. And they have pictures, Hara Setsuko. They have pictures, Akira Kurosawa, Toshiro Mifune, which played in a lot of Kurosawa films as a samurai. And Yojimbo, Sanjuro, and Heaven and Hell. High and Low. He's one of my favorite Japanese actors. So seeing old photos of him, seeing old photos from the early 90s of like River Phoenix, Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp, like just classic late 80s, early 90s Hollywood movie stars. And it's just like my childhood. And everything's written in Japanese. So I was like, this is so awesome. Yeah, and in Japan, whenever you visit some place or it's like a really special occasion, they have like these kind of like poster boards. It's probably a 12 by 12 inch, about the size of vinyl record, sleeve, and usually write a message or something. Either Japanese people write a message to you or you write one to them. And so they had a bunch of these from, oh man, I think, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to misremember, but I want to say it was Jack Nicholson. I don't know. So, Robert De Niro. That's who it was. I was like, holy crap! Like they have this thing signed by Robert De Niro, and it's right here. They have this one signed by River Phoenix. I'm like, it's right here. River Phoenix, man. That's a touchy subject because he passed away at a very young age, but he was great. I loved him in the movie Stand By Me. Like, that was a very impactful movie. But also, he played like a younger Indiana Jones, in The Last Crusade, like the first 20 or 30 minutes of that movie. Great actor. His brother, Joaquin Phoenix, another fantastic actor. Man, he's one of the greatest right now. But yeah, so him, and, just walking through, they even had one from Audrey Hepburn, because in Japan, Roman Holiday is like a very, very popular film, even though as old as it is, even younger people know about it. And so they had her like little, 12 by 12, like little card or whatever that she had signed. It's like, this is such a cool exhibit. And as I'm walking around, and there's like old photos lining the walls, and what I gathered, and I should have read the pamphlet, they handed me one in English, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to read this. I just want to walk around because I like looking at pictures and stuff. It turns out I should have read that. It's this lady and her husband, from what I gathered, like started kind of like hosting movie directors, actors, actresses to like their home. You know, and Kamakura is like, at that time you could see the ocean from that area, but now there's all these shops and all this other stuff. So it originally started out as just kind of like a place they really wanted to invite foreigners to Japan and had like a guest house for them to stay at. And which makes sense because a lot of these photos were taken on this property. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, in a lot of these photos, like, who is this lady? You know, I don't recognize her from any movies or anything like that. Turns out, from conversation I had later, is that I guess she was like the hostess or something of like inviting people. So yeah, so I go out of, you know, the exhibit, I go back outside. I'm like, man, that was really enjoyable. I stayed in there probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes just walking around, and it really wasn't that big. It's probably about the size of an average sized house, you know. And I was kind of like, man, 300 yen, like that's it? Like, I don't know. I was just expecting a little bit more. And so when I go outside, they have like the lady and her husband, and they have their pictures and like a description in Japanese. And like, all right. And like a little walkway, kind of looks like it goes to a garden. I was like, I'm just going to walk around out here. This is a nice garden. There's some flowers in bloom. It smells really nice. And as I'm walking, there's like a lady out there, and there's a little gate, and she's like checking tickets. I'm like, oh, well, they gave me a ticket inside, but I never gave it to anybody. So I'm like, wait, is this what I purchased that ticket for? And so it turns out, like, yeah, I spent the 300 yen to actually, you know, go outside and go to this place that I'm wandering into right now. And so it was great. So I give her my ticket, and I walk up this path, and it's a path that goes up and kind of goes to the right, and it goes through like a tunnel of like bushes and trees and stuff like that. I was like, where does this go? I'm assuming it goes to this house that I can see way up there. And so I'm walking this path. It's kind of like that scene from My Neighbor Totoro where she's going through the bushes. So yeah, I'm walking up, and I go up, and there's this traditional Japanese house, tatami mats, everything. I'm like, this is awesome. I love traditional Japanese houses where there's like the inner rooms, and then there's like an outer like hallway perimeter that also has like these sliding glass doors, and all of them were open. Everything was open, and like that's why I love it, because you can just like have just an open air home, just open everything. Like the walls are the windows, you know, or the windows are the walls, whatever. Like, this is amazing. I love it. And I'm walking around. The outside of the perimeter has all of these old photos that are fairly large, you know, of like these famous Japanese actors and actresses that have been to this residence before, who were guests, you know, invited by this lady. What is her name? Kawakita. I forget her first name, but that's the last name, Kawakita. I think that's the name of the film museum too. So yeah, the first photo that I see, and it's in the corner, is the actor from Tokyo Story, and I'm gonna butcher his name. His name is Ryu, R-Y-U. I can't remember how to say it. Like, I can't remember his last name. I don't want to butcher it, so out of respect, I'm just not going to say it. But his name is Ryu. And I was like, man, I know this guy from so many of those Ozu movies. Like, he plays so many different characters in so many of his different films. And so what I saw is I recognized that guy right away. Like, that's so cool that this guy has also been here. So I haven't even been inside the house yet. This is just me walking around the outside, and they have these photos around the outside. So I go to the entrance, and there's a guy there. I was like, oh, hello. Like, oh, this is great. And he just bows. Like, oh, I guess my Japanese is really bad because he didn't understand what I said. Anyways, I go inside. I take my shoes off, and I'm just walking around this house. The first room that I walk into, if you've ever seen an old Japanese movie from like a different time period where they have the fireplace in the middle of the room. It's just a hole in the floor and a giant cast iron pot. Like, that's what this house had, but in real life. And it was like, this is awesome. Like, I love this. And the lady there at the opening of this door, she just strikes up a conversation with me. She's like, oh, konnichiwa. And I just say something like, oh, this is really great. And she's like, oh, your Japanese is really good. And then she starts talking in Japanese. I'm like, oh, you're talking really fast and you're using words that I don't understand really. And then I don't think this was her job, but she just started giving me a tour of the house. And she's explaining different pieces around the house to me. And like, I'm really glad that this lady loves her job, because I love that she loves her job, because I'm learning about this house that normally I would have just wandered around and looked at and checked out the pictures. But we were just having a conversation probably for about 20-30 minutes, just walking around the house. And like I said earlier, like, my Japanese is actually a lot better than I think it is. Because I was understanding probably about 60 or 70% of what she was saying. And I could speak back to that and, respond to that. So yeah, it was just really enjoyable. And she's showing me the kitchen. She's showing me different, places around the house, and like who had been invited to this house before. And she was asking me about another famous actor, if I'd ever heard his name before. And right now, what was his name? I think it was Alan. It's written in katakana, so the pronunciation's off a little bit, but it's something like Aran Dorma or something like that. And I looked it up later because I'd never heard the guy. I saw the photo, I didn't recognize him. I was like, yeah, sorry, I don't know this guy. He's in a famous movie. I think he's a French actor, and he's in a movie called Les Samurai, something like that. I forget exactly. I could be butchering it. So anyways, I'm going to check that film out later. But I guess he was like really famous around that area. I guess he had been there a few times or whatever, or had a lasting impression on, the host and hostess. Anyways, so this lady is just giving me a great tour. We're having great conversations. And, I just tell her like, oh, I'm really big into like Ozu films. I love, Kurosawa films. I tell her all these actors and actresses that I like. And it was so refreshing to just have conversations with people who knew what I was talking about and also loved those things too. Because it's very rare that I meet somebody who loves classic Japanese films, Yeah, so it was just great. I really loved it. And so yeah, ended up leaving there shortly after, and I'm taking some photos around the house. And as I'm walking back down that path that I came in on, I was like, man, the flowers are really beautiful in front of this house. The house is kind of up on a hill, and then the museum is a little bit lower down. So I'm taking photos of the house, and there's, flowers and everything. And the nice little lady's like up in the house, and she's like waving to me. Yeah. Kawaii ne. No, she's an older lady, and yeah, she's great. And I just loved it. It was such a great experience. It was really great. So yeah, so I start walking back to the station. You know what, like, I really wanted to go to Kurosawa's gravesite, and I wanted to go to this other bar that's movie themed. I was like, you know what, I really need to go to like the Daibutsu, because those places usually close a little early, and it was getting late. It was like 3 o'clock or 3:30 or something. So I was like, you know what, like I can't go to Kurosawa's grave right now. I can't go to that. The bar is going to be open late anyways. It stays open until like 11. So I was like, I'll just go to that later. That's fine. But I really wanted to go to the giant Buddha statue, because it'd been a while since I'd been there. Plus, I had recently watched, the Ozu movie Late Spring. And I was like, I really just want to see it. I just want to go. I'm here. I planned this trip. And so I go back to the station, And it's a JR station. JR stands for Japanese Railway. But there's another local train that you have to transfer to actually get to the Daibutsu, to get to the Great Buddha. And it's called the Enoden. Enoden, you split it up, it means Enoshima, which is like a famous island right in that area, and Den means Densha. So Enoshima Densha, it's shortened to Enoden. And typically, any other time of the year, it's a very relaxing, just take the train, and you just go. But that day, oh my goodness, it was horrible. It was worse than the JR train getting to Kamakura station. There's a huge line. It seriously looked like the U.S.-Mexico border, where it's like a line of people just waiting to get in. And, and you're getting in, and people are just cramming into this train, and they're having to be like shoved and pushed in so the doors can actually close so they can ride the train. I'm like, man, I don't want to be here right now. Like, what am I doing here? I seriously thought in that moment of turning back and just going to Kurosawa's grave, going to the movie bar. I was like, you know what? No. I'm tired of like having a plan and going back on it. So I was like, I said I was going to do this. I'm going to go do this. So, oh my goodness. So I get shoved onto this train, and I'd stopped by and got some omiyage, some like gifts for my coworkers and stuff. Like it's like a bunch of cookies and stuff, which you do just to be nice to your coworkers. If you go travel somewhere, you get what's called omiyage, like a souvenir or like a small gift. So I get on the train, I have like my bag of these cookies, mind you. Cookies are brittle, they break easily if they're crunched. Everybody's being shoved onto this train. I feel like I'm like a sardine being packed into a tin can. Like, this really sucks. So I'm like holding the bag up by my face so these cookies don't get crunched. Oh my goodness. And like there's a little bit of panic that started setting in, because as I'm getting older, I'm becoming a little bit more claustrophobic, which I don't know what started that. I never used to be like that. But I was like, all right, just breathe. Just breathe. Luckily, like, I was right underneath an air conditioning unit on the train, so I was like, all right, this is good. It's all right. It's, 2 or 3 stops? Not very far away. Maybe 7 minutes. So we get to the next station. A couple more people squeeze onto the train. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But luckily, as they're trying to get on, like, there's people in the train that needed to get off. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, free up a little bit of space. We get off, the station to go to the Daibutsu, and I'm like, all right, finally, like, I can breathe. As we're walking out of the station onto the sidewalk to, like, you pretty much just walk straight, and you eventually get to the Daibutsu. There were so many people on these narrow little sidewalks. And if you've been to Japan, you know how narrow the sidewalks are. Barely enough room for 2 people walk side by side. Shoulder to shoulder, And right off the curb, there's traffic and scooters. So I'm like, man, come on. You gotta be kidding me. There's so many. Why is there so many people? It's Golden Week. That's exactly why there's so many people. So I finally get to the Daibutsu, and I'm like, all right, this is nice. Tons of people. I have my phone now. I started taking videos too, and I have my little gimbal, my little DJI gimbal. So I'm like, this is awesome. I'm gonna make, capture a few short videos and just put all these clips together, make a video. And as I'm doing that, I'm just, I just want to soak this in. I've been here before. And I've noticed when I'm wanting to take videos or photos of things, that can be kind of a distraction for me. But I want to practice being present to the moment and enjoying the moment. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and just enjoy this for a little bit before I go get some, short videos and stuff like that, or get some photos. Like, I actually want to enjoy this experience. And so I did, and it was just very relaxing and very calming to just sit there and just people watch, just like watching people just enjoy themselves. And I was like, man, I really enjoy watching other people I'm assuming it's probably their first time to ever see this. And they're just so excited. They're taking photos, they're taking selfies. I hate selfie sticks, but some of them have their selfie sticks. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. They're having a good time. They've probably never seen this before. I'm so like excited for them. It's like legitimately happy for them. I seriously, I felt like an old man. I'm like that old man sitting on a rock watching people with a smile on my face. I don't know. It was just very nice. It's very relaxing. So yeah, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna, got some photos. I got some more omiyage. I found this cool tin can in the shape of the Enoden train. And it had, cookies and stuff inside. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I really want to buy this. So I got that. After that, I start heading back to the station. As I'm walking back to the station, I notice there's a bus, and I'm like, oh, this bus goes back to Kamakura station. But I wanted initially to go to Enoshima. But it's getting late. It's probably, what time was it? Maybe 4, maybe 5 o'clock. And I was like, nah, it's getting late. I'm going to start heading back. I'm going to go back to Kamakura station. I thought about going to Kurosawa's gravesite. I was like, I don't want to go at night. It's not very well lit. I want to get a photo, and you're not going to be able to get a decent photo at night. So I headed back to Kamakura station because there's one more place that I really wanted to go. I found an article online, and this guy was saying how he went out, drinking with his coworkers after work, and as he was walking back to Kamakura station, he came across this place, and it had a photo of like an old like Ozu movie poster on the bar, and the name of the bar is called Eigakan, and Eigakan in Japanese translated to English means movie theater. So literally translated means movie theater bar. There's no movie theater, that's just the name of it. Movie theater bar. And I saw this article, I was like, oh, I have to go here. He was talking about how the owner is like really into movies, really into music, and I was like, all right, let me check it out. It's like a 7-minute walk from Kamakura station, not very far at all. I'm like, all right. So I walk there, I find the place, I'm like, I hope it's open. I didn't check online, which I usually check online if places are open, and I didn't. It's a Monday. Sometimes places are closed on Mondays in Japan. Like, I'm just gonna walk there. If it's closed, and I'll just go back home. I go there and like it's open. The door's open. I'm like, awesome. It's on the 2nd floor, so it almost looks like you're going into an apartment building. It's off, the street. You open the door and it's just a hallway. It's just stairs going up. Like, all right, cool. It's open. So I'm walking up the stairs and I open the door. And I'm like, man, this place is really cool. It's almost the size. It almost looks like the size of an apartment. It's very small. It's very compact. And there's tons of memorabilia in there. One of the first things that stuck out to me was all the records on the wall, like Thelonious Monk, John Coltrane. Like, Japanese people love jazz. Bunch of jazz records on the walls. Those are just the ones that I recognize, because I'm not really into jazz, but I'm slowly getting into it more. And jazz records on the walls. There's movie posters on the walls that are written in Japanese. I'm like, this is so cool. One that stuck out was Blue Velvet by David Lynch. Classic movie. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Watch it. David Lynch is his movies are weird. They're a bit bizarre. But once you understand his style, like, they're enjoyable. But the very first time you see it, I don't know, you might like it. It depends on your taste. It wasn't my taste when I first saw it, so it's something that grew on me. Good movie. And the movie poster is written in katakana, in Japanese. I was like, that looks so cool. This is such a cool movie poster. Another one, just below it is on the ground. There's a bunch of paintings written or painted on like thin like plywood almost, and they're like the size of normal movie posters. And it was Fritz Lang's film called M. And we were talking about it. I ended up talking about it with the owner. I couldn't remember if that's a silent film or not. Fritz Lang also did Metropolis. Metropolis was definitely a silent film. One of the greatest movies of all time. Highly recommend it. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's really cool. But he also did this one called M. And I guess the owner like painted this movie poster. Somebody painted it. It was definitely painted. And that's another classic movie. Great movie. So yeah, just the first 2 minutes I'm in this place, I'm already in love. I love this place. It's so like compact, and it reminded me in a way, if you've ever seen that show called Tokyo Stories, like Midnight Diner, Tokyo Stories on Netflix. It's like that atmosphere, but if there's like movie posters and jazz records all over the place. That's kind of what it reminded me of. And, and later, one of the patrons, one of the ladies, the customers, I'm assuming it's one of his regulars, she comes in and she starts calling him Master, kind of like in that show, where she's like, Master. It's kind of like an honorific type of thing. I don't know. It's funny. So I just get into this place. I'm already in love. I start talking to the owner. I'm like, yeah, so I went to Kita Kamakura. I visited Ozu's grave. I went to the film museum. And he's like, oh, did you know Kurosawa's grave is close by here? I'm like, yeah, I really want to go, but it's getting late, and, you know, I'll definitely go some other time. And he's like, oh, yeah, I see. And we start talking, and I tell him, like, oh, I'm a really big fan of, you know, these directors and stuff. I told him, like, oh, I have Tokyo Story, like, my Blu-ray. It's like my little conversation piece, right? Like, I have this thing I've been showing everybody all day. Just trying to strike up conversations with people. And so, yeah, it's so cool. He has this book, this gigantic book of Tokyo Story, and I open it up. I'm like, this is so cool. I open it up, and it's almost slide by slide the entire movie. You know, it's obviously starting out with the credits. Each page of the credits with, like, who's it starring, who's the director, all this other stuff. Like, oh, dude, like, this is really cool. It's really cool. And I was like, as I'm, like, flipping through the pages, I like, start hearing the music in my head. I'm like, that's so awesome. I didn't even know these types of books existed. And just, like, again, like, I'm, like, getting slightly emotional. Like, this is awesome that people are into the same thing that I'm into. And so, even right now as I'm talking about it, I'm tearing up a little bit. I'm just, like, excited. I'm just happy. So yeah, like, we start talking more about movies and music and soundtracks, kind of like referencing the same things that I had earlier in the conversations with those 3 guys that I met at Ozu's gravesite. And so yeah, I just order some food, order a drink, and he's showing me, like, his record that he just bought. He's super excited about. It's the Nosferatu, not the new one, but it's Nosferatu played on, like, a pipe organ, and I forget the artist's name who did it, but it was from just a few years ago, so it's more recent, but it's not from the new movie that was just released. I forget the director's name, but he also did The Witch, and he did The Lighthouse. Great films, highly recommend them. But it's not that Nosferatu, a different one. And it's not the original either, not the black and white one. Anywho, he puts that on, and it's just, like, so haunting. Like, this is great. I love this. And it was only me, the owner, these 2 people that were sitting at the bar next to me, who I eventually struck up a conversation with, and then 2 other men that were sitting off into the corner. the place is kind of elongated, kind of like rectangular, and half of it on one side is like a bar, and then the other half is kind of like a cafe style thing, so like tables and chairs. I was sitting on the bar side at the counter, and behind the counter he has tons of CDs, movie posters and stuff lining the walls behind his drinks, his bottles of drinks and stuff like that. And so, man, I just had a great time just talking with those people there. We were into a lot of similar tastes in movies and music. And one of the ladies, she's like asking me, she's like, "Oh, do you know, like, in Japanese, she was saying it, pati smisu. And I was like, what is pati smisu? And she's like, you don't know it? Like, oh, it's because you're young. I'm like, I'm not that young. I'm 38. I'll be 39 in a couple weeks. I'm like, I might look young, but I'm not young. And she's like, oh, yeah. And so she looks it up on her phone, and she shows me. I'm like, oh, Patti Smith. Like, yeah, I know who Patti Smith is, but since it's written in katakana, like, that's how Japanese people pronounce things. And so I was like, oh, yeah. So I know who it was. I'm gonna let this guy go around me because he's like obviously in a rush. So yeah, Patti Smith. Oh, it's over an hour already. Man, that went by fast. And it's dark out. You guys can't even see me right now. Anyways, Patti Smith. We were talking about Radiohead, Tom York, Fuji Rock Festival, Summer Sonic Festival. Man, what else? Classic Japanese movies, just classic movies in general. Yeah, like I said, Metropolis, Fritz Lang, M. And then another lady came in, and that's the lady I said earlier who called the bar owner Masta, like from Shinya Shokudo, Tokyo Stories, Midnight Diner. And no, she was great. She was a little bit older too. If I had to guess, I would say she's like in her early to mid 50s. And she's a smoker too, so I didn't stay there much longer after she started smoking. But up until then, we had a good conversation. I was like, I can't really deal with smoke in closed spaces like that. But yeah, man, just great time that day in Kamakura. Definitely want to go back. Oh, the bar owner invited me to a screening of, I think the title, it was only in Japanese, but I think the English title is Equinox Flower by, it's another Ozu film, Yasujiro Ozu. Like I said, he usually does like family relationship commentaries post-war. So I've never seen this movie, but I can venture a guess as to what it's about. Probably some young lady is getting pressured to get married by her family. And so, but I'll try to have an open mind. And the screening's in Kamakura, it's in June. I was like, I really want to go. So I put it in my calendar, and if I write it down, I'm more than likely going to do it. And so I'm actually really excited. It's at the Kamakura, it's kind of like a, what would you say? I don't even remember what it's called in Japanese. Kind of like a town hall type of thing, but there's a movie theater there. Or they're just going to do a screening of it there. So, super cool to watch an Ozu movie in Kamakura. Definitely going to that. And it's only 1,000 yen. My goodness, it's so cheap. That's less than $10. Anyway, that's been story time, video number 5. Shortly after that, I went back home on the train. Very exhausted. It was a long day. I left my house that morning probably around 8:30 in the morning. Didn't get home till about 10:30. And I was walking around all day. Anyways, great time, great experience, great memories. If you ever come to Japan, I highly recommend going to Kamakura. And yeah, I want to get better at telling stories too. Hopefully this was enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, it's so great to be working on social skills and see them improving to where I could have conversations with strangers, especially conversations with strangers in Japanese. So I feel like that's another barrier that I'm wanting to overcome. I'm in the process of overcoming, and also studying more Japanese. And yeah, I'm just super excited with how I've been growing and how things are changing. And it's cool. It's just like, life was already enjoyable, but it's becoming even more enjoyable when you're able to just talk with people and not be in your head overthinking everything. And that's like the main changes that I've seen in myself over the past few weeks. Really since starting these videos that I'm filming that you can't even see right now because it's dark outside. Anyways, if you're still watching this, I really appreciate you hanging in there. And I'll be back with another video next week. So thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the flip side. All right. Bye-bye. Have a good one.